Well, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jonathan, and this is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. This is my January wrap up, where I'm going to tell you about all of the books that I read in the month of January. But January, where I live, was extremely cold. In fact, we had a snowstorm at the very end of January, and everything turned to ice, and so we were out of school for a very long time. So I had a lot of time to read. So I actually ended up reading or listening to 13 books in the month of January, and I want to share those with you. Some of them were good, some of them were okay, some of them were very forgetful. The first one that I read is very short, and that was called The Fight to Survive by Terry Bisson. And this is part of the Boba Fett line of Star Wars novels. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I saw these and I thought I would grab them. But this story tells about Boba Fett as he's a child and as he grows up. So if you are at all familiar with the movie, the Attack of the Clones from the Star Wars movies, this story takes place at the same time that that's happening, including Jango Fett, Boba Fett's father, including his death on the battle of the planet of Geonosis. So this tells all about all of those things. This book was okay. It's good if you like Star Wars. It was very short. It's a very quick read. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, just because it gave a little bit more background into who Boba Fett is and how he came to be. The next book that I read was called The Valley of Lies, and this is by Ali Standish. This was book 3 in the Improbable Tales of Baskerville Hall, that series. And this continues to talk about Arthur Doyle and all of his friends at the boarding school that they go to. And they are looking for a mysterious artifact that gives knowledge to everybody. And this one's a little tragic because he has a good friend, and things that happen throughout the book tend to, or that cause that friendship to fall apart. I don't want to say more because I don't want to ruin it. But that whole series, The Improbable Tales of Baskerville Hall, fantastic books. If you like stories that reimagine the lives of your favorite authors, that's a great one to read. And that, again, was The Valley of Lies by Ali Standish. The third book that I did was called The Wright 3. And this was the second book in a series by Blue Balliet. The first one being, I just forgot what the first one was called. Chasing Vermeer. There we go. Chasing Vermeer. It was the first book, or this is the second book in that series. And this continues the story of the two children and now a new friend named Tommy, who has just moved back. And they find out that the house that was built by Frank Lloyd Wright is going to be cut apart. And they're trying their best to keep that from happening. And there's a mystery that involves some people who keep going in and out of the house. Tommy finds an artifact, and there's a break-in and different things like that. It was a good story. Not nearly as good as Chasing Vermeer, which I can't believe I forgot the title. But it was a good story overall. Then book number 4 was called The Final Step by Ridley Pearson. And this was also the last book in a trilogy. The trilogy was the Lock and Key series, and this is a story about James Moriarty when he's a teenage boy, and he's going to a boarding school, and his roommate is Sherlock Holmes. Now, in this one, Sherlock has been kicked out of the boarding school because of some events that happened in book number 2, and James is continuing his downward spiral into becoming a criminal. One thing I didn't necessarily like about this particular book is the fact that there is this shady secret society, and there's all of these adults in powerful positions, but apparently they listen to James, who's a teenage boy. That part didn't really make sense to me, but overall the mystery is great, and there's some things that happen at the end that are kind of scratch your head about, but you there's some storylines that get wrapped up, and some people who did some terrible things, they get their comeuppance. So this is a middle grade book, but I probably would recommend this more for maybe fifth or sixth grade, because it does get a little dark. Um, After that, I read a really great murder mystery called Blood in the Water by Tiffany Jackson. And this is about a girl who goes to stay on Martha's Vineyard for the summer. Her father is in prison for a crime, financial crime. And so she goes, and she is staying with this family. And then all of a sudden, a local boy, a popular local boy, is found murdered. And it was supposed to look like a shark attack, but as they dig into it, they find out more and more um, that it was foul play. And when I say it's a great mystery, the surprise when you find out who is actually responsible for the murder and the reason that they did it, it was kind of mind blowing. Definitely check that book out. It's called Blood in the Water by Tiffany Jackson. After that, I read the second book in the Boba Fett series, and this one is called Crossfire. At the end of the first one, Boba Fett loses his ship, and he is on the run. And in this one, picks up with clones and people from the Republic landing, and he gets taken to an orphanage where he is trying, and he's still trying to figure out where his dad wants him to go. It was kind of a filler story. Hopefully it pushes us in a different direction if I get to book 3. But that was that. And then I read, and I said at the beginning there were some forgettable books. This one was forgettable. It was called The Fall of the House of Tatterly. And it is by Shanna Miles. And this is a story of a family of, I guess, magicians or shamans, or they're involved in witchcraft and folklore and different things like that. And the young man who's the main character, he's able to see ghosts, and he will oftentimes help those ghosts move on to the afterlife. And there was some things that happen. They see a witch or a ghost or something at the aquarium, and there were other things. Honestly, I don't really remember. I do know the end made absolutely no sense because people's lives are on the line, and how do they determine it? They play basketball. So it was kind of wild. Read it if you'd like. There's some interesting stuff, particularly because it's set in the city of Charleston. I'm guessing it's Charleston, South Carolina. So you can learn more about the history there. But overall, it was just kind of a forgettable book. After that, I read the book called The House Next Door by Ellen O. Now, if you are familiar with my channel at all, you know that I love Ellen O's ghost stories. She wrote the Spirit Hunters trilogy, which all 3 books are phenomenal. They're very scary, particularly for middle grade. They're pretty terrifying. The first one's probably one of the scariest books I've ever read. But The House Next Door is about a boy who lives in a house, and the house next door is haunted. His best friend used to live there until a terrible tragedy happened, and they had to move away. And every family that has moved in since doesn't stay very long. Well, then a new family moves in, and they have a boy who is our main character's age and his little sister. And even though he's terrified to go in the house, he decides to go over, and they find out that the house is built on like a monster den. And there are all of these monsters that live under the house who want to eat the children, particularly the little sister. And so our main character and his friend have to figure out what they're going to do in order to save the little sister. Great book. A lot of fun. It was short. I read it in about a day, again, because it was really cold. I read it in about a day, but overall, fantastic book. I definitely recommend The House Next Door by Ellen O. After that, I went back and revisited a classic that I read in high school, and that was The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. When I was in high school, there was a movie that came out. It had Val Kilmer and another really famous actor, Marlon Brando, who played Dr. Moreau. And this is the story of a man who is shipwrecked, and he ends up on an island where there are two scientists who are doing experiments on animals, and things go very, very badly. And it turns out that you really should not be messing with genetics like that. I have a crazy story about the island of Dr. Moreau that I'll have to share at some point, but I highly encourage you to check it out. If you like classic science fiction, this is a great one for it. After that, continuing to read Agatha Christie. I think I forgot to tell you that I read one of those. So I'll tell you about both of them now. The first one I read was called The Body in the Library. This was the first Miss Marple mystery. This is by Agatha Christie. And this is about a wealthy family who one day they discover there's a dead body in their library. And so they're trying to figure out who she is and how she got there. And Miss Marple, I don't understand Miss Marple because she walks in, she like looks around and goes, I already know who did it. But I guess that was the appeal of her. And then there is a second body that shows up in a car that's been burned up. And somehow those two tie together. Agatha Christie mysteries are always fun to read. There's not a lot of danger or drama to them. So this one was enjoyable. I am trying to read more Agatha Christie this year. If you go to agathachristie.com, you can get the reading plan for reading Agatha this year. And the second one that I read was called The Seven Dials Mystery. And this is about a group of friends who stay at this mansion, and they have a friend who never wakes up on time. So they decide they're going to play a trick on him. They all go buy alarm clocks, and they set them for different times in an attempt to wake him up. Well, he never wakes up because somebody murdered him. And then they are trying to discover who was responsible for this man's death. And meanwhile, the girl who the house belonged to, she's driving one day, and she nearly hits a guy, and he ends up dead. And she thinks she killed him with the car, but it turns out he was just shot. That sounds silly to say. He was shot by somebody. And so she's trying to get to the bottom of both of these murders. This one includes a man named Inspector Battle, and there is also a secret society that ties in. I believe this was known as a thriller back in the day, not necessarily the type of thriller that we read now, but it was a little bit of a slow burn. Not my favorite Agatha Christie, but overall it was enjoyable. After that one, I grabbed a new spooky book from the library, and this one is called Glom. It's by a guy named Jack McKay. And Jack McKay, he writes a story about a girl, her brother, and then the two twins that move into their grandmother's house with their stepfather. Their mother unfortunately passed away, and so their stepfather promised their mother that he would always take care of them. So he's doing his best to try to take care of them. They move into grandmother's house, and he hires a new babysitter, but the babysitter is not who she says she is. And so the older sister is doing her very best to try to protect the family from the babysitter, even though nobody believes her when she tells them these things. It was good. It was probably a 3.5 star story. There were some things that I kind of scratched my head about. Never really explained who the monster was or what the monster wanted, where the monster came from, or any of that stuff. So kind of left a few of those things out there, but overall it was enjoyable. And then the last book that I read in January was, keeping with the Agatha Christie theme, called The Body Under the Piano by Martha Jocelyn. And this is a story about a girl named Agatha, and she goes to her dance school, and she discovers there's a body under the piano, and it's the body of the town crank. Like, nobody likes this lady, and everybody's like, oh, we'd all be better off if she wasn't here. Well, now she's not here, and so they have to try to solve the mystery. And tied in with Agatha, or Aggie, is a young man from who is they call him a foreigner, which is not a very nice word to use, but he has left his family and come to live in England, and his name happens to be Hercule. So you can kind of tell where this goes. This is kind of a reimagining of what it would have been like to be Agatha Christie as a child. It's the first book in a 4-book series, and I am definitely looking forward to continuing to read those. So there you go. Those are the 13 books that I did in January. That's a large number. Thankfully, some of them were short. I don't know if I'll be getting to more books like that or that number of books again until we get to the summer. And so what I'd like to know is down in the comments, what was your favorite read of January? Or have you read any of the books that I just talked about? And which one did you like? Leave all of those down in the comments. And so I can add them to my list. And if you are interested in finding out what books I think are best to read when you're snowed in, particularly because we're still in winter, go ahead and click on the video that's going to pop up here in a second. My name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. We'll see you next time.